So, this is my first, well, not really my first time being back on this game in about 4 years. I was playing the game a bit yesterday, and I haven't really thought about this game in a while. I had a lot of really bad negative opinions about this game because of what I, played back in, I think 2021 when this game was first coming out. My opinion of the game was, for the longest time, for about 4 years, was that this was a boo-boo baby easy game. This game was kind of easy, a bit brainless. It was a total betrayal of what Guilty Gear had been. And I think that last one is a bit of a betrayal, but with the way Accent Core Plus R was in Xrd, I feel like there wasn't too much of a way to make the next one super interesting without totally revamping everything. And the things I don't like about this game, I still don't like. I'm not too hot on the way they remove Gatling in this game. You can't really do punch, kick, slash heavy, slash dust. It's slash heavy, or kick forward slash, or P forward P. It's very restrictive. The same goes for air dashing. It's very restrictive too. It's kind of obvious. But all these things, I feel like, work in the context of this game very well. Obviously, jumping, specifically air dashing, it carries more risk. This game is kind of more focused on the grounded aspect with, air dashing being there. It's like an extra option, to navigate neutral and to catch people doing stuff, right? But that wasn't what Guilty Gear was. You had this, and you had open and free-feeling way to, navigate the air and the ground, right? It's not what Guilty Gear was, but I don't think it's necessarily bad. What I do think is kind of bad is the lack of a corner. You're gonna see me break it in a second. Okay, so you see that? I don't like this. I think this was unnecessary. I think this kind of detracts from the experience. If they would have gotten rid of the wall bounce on combos and kept the corner, I feel like it could have made for something more interesting, because I feel like the corner is super duper interesting. I feel like it's a good thing to have a corner because it's a really powerful tool, but not everyone knows how to actively keep the corner, and not everyone knows how to get out of the corner. It requires a lot more thinking than you would think. Alright, you have to actively find ways to keep people in the corner, using your tools and being very tricky, and by mixing up your moves. And to get out of the corner, you have to find the holes in their offense, guess correctly, make them get off of you. It's a good thing. It makes you really think. Try if you don't have that. Try if you don't really keep the corner, because it's just more worth it to get off that really big damage. It's not super interesting, and I don't like that. I feel like I'm never not gonna dislike that, but that's fine. You win some, you lose some. See, my thing is, back in 2021 when this game came out, I think there was less combo routes than there are now on characters. And, there is also, they added some moves. Where was that when I was back in 2021? Also, where the heck was this? This is really cool. This had such a really good layer to the game. That just wasn't there. This changes how you engage with the burst meter. Beyond just, should I burst or should I not burst, It's still a good thing in all the other games. Now, you do have, in this game, you have normal burst, it's a get off me tool, and then you have gold burst, which gives you meter, which is, that's really good. It's like, do I want to get them off of me, or do I save it and use it to get, meter through, a big damage combo? And there's also, like I was saying, this is a way to extend your combos, and it's a really good way to extend combos. Now, it doesn't do a lot of damage, but it adds an extra layer. It's like, do I want to cash out this when I'm low on meter? Or do I want to maybe save it for, a burst? You have also this. This is a better get off me tool than faultless defense. But of course, it consumes half, your burst, just like this does. It adds an extra layer of thought and pre-planning to your games, right? Which I think that's a really good thing. These things are good. Where was this? This stuff wasn't there when I played, and it's a darn shame. And even now, I feel like for all the good things that Plus R and Xrd did, It's not like Plus R and X are delisted. In fact, you can go play those games and you can go online and play right now. You might have some trouble finding some games with Xrd, but you can still find games, definitely. Those games will never not be good. This doesn't necessarily detract from that, and I feel like it's an interesting direction to take the series, considering there wasn't really a place that I could think of to take the series after Xrd. So I feel like a drastic overhaul was definitely needed, but I'm not too crazy on the way they went about certain aspects of that overhaul. But that's just me. Strive is there to ease people into this kind of genre, you know? It's there for the casuals. It wasn't really made for, you know, the hardcore Guilty Gear players. You can feel however you want about it. You know, it is what it is. I think the game's fun. I'm not too crazy about it. See, my thing is, one other thing I was thinking about is people say, you know, other Guilty Gear games are like way too complicated. People say they're overcomplicated, which I feel like isn't true. Literally a talking point in, you know, the script I'm making for my Accent Core Plus R video is that all the mechanics are necessary in creating a game that feels very open and free. And, you know, the more and more you learn, the more and more fun you have, and the more you can just do. When you learn all of these like insane and even like hard to pull off mechanics, you can just do so much more. You can just kind of do whatever you want, but you know, there's risk to your actions, you know? When you have a freeing game like that, it's worth it to learn the mechanics, because then you can do stuff you never even thought was possible. The game feels like a dream. It's like a dream come true in the way that, you know, certain things just kind of play out. It's simpler. It's a simpler approach to Guilty Gear that I feel like was kind of necessary. You know, they made some people mad. They pissed a couple people off. But, you know, it is what it is. Those other games will always still be there, and they'll always be awesome. You know, I'm not necessarily mad about this game like I was back in, you know, in the 4-year, 10-year I was off this game, you know. That's really all I have to say on the subject. So if you like the video, you know, do the normal things that they tell you to do. And I really want to see what everyone else's opinion is about this game in the comments. Because, you know, everyone's going to say something different. No two people are the same, you know. So that's honestly about it. You know, like I said, do what you got to do. And I'll see you when that Plus R video comes out.